Quick.
There we go.
Come on, internet connection. Don't do this to me today.
Do you want to get off cellular?
I already did.
You did?
Yeah,
Really?
it's on. I took it off the Wi-Fi's
I don't know if mine
and
is.
put it on
Hold
the cellular.
Let's see
Yeah, so excuse us while we adjust. But we're
Hey guys, sorry
having
about
problems.
that. We were on the Wi-Fi and apparently
right.
poor cellular connection.
I think for some reason when we go live, it overwhelms our Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah.
Because it never happens. Wi-Fi is great any other time except when we click go live.
Yeah, and then it's like low connection, and we're like,
Yeah. What did we do?
What did we do? We've been nice to you.
Yeah. Love this. So,
Ah.
well, hey everyone.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
I'm glad to be back. I missed last time.
Yeah, yeah.
You did a bang up job though.
Appreciate it.
Stellar. It was
Appreciate
good.
I was channeling my inner Beyonce, you know. I was just trying to like get all the power I can and like get myself pumped up for that one. I was nervous. I was really nervous.
You did good. Didn't
Thanks.
come across.
Appreciate
it.
it.
Was good. Hey, I'm Brian, by the way. Your local friendly skincare owner.
I'm Kristen. I'm the customer experience manager at Therapeutic. And
yes. So today, we got a great topic.
We do.
Actually,
very, very excited about this one.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To you. What are you drinking? What's in your cup?
Coffee, black,
Coffee.
because I need every bit of this that I can today.
I'm going with coffee and butter. Coffee and butter.
Okay, hold on. We need to pause for a minute.
Oh.
What is this coffee and butter thing? Because that sounds disgusting.
Well, it's really not. It sounds terrible.
Okay.
But it all started with this whole bulletproof coffee rage. Remember that?
I remember that,
So, yeah, people put the butter and the coconut oil and some protein, collagen, I don't know, something else. And so I thought I'd try it, and I just liked it.
Okay.
It's to me, it tastes a whole lot better than cream.
Okay.
And it's butter.
It's butter.
I mean, you can't go wrong. You got butter and bacon. Two of my favorites.
And everything else.
And yeah, then everything falls apart.
That's hysterical.
So, yeah, okay. Sorry. No more about mine.
We're derailing, but we're
good.
back on.
But we are excited about this topic today. We're going to answer one of our most frequently asked questions.
Yes.
And it is, if my client has a darker skin tone, can they get a chemical peel?
Yeah.
And man, we've done a lot of research on it. Of course, we've seen a lot of great results with chemical peels on darker skin tones anyway. But the great thing is that there's a ton of research on this. And overall in this research, the resounding answer is yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
And however, there are some precautions that we need to take when we're doing a chemical peel on a darker skin tone. So we're going to try to cover all those things today. We're going to go over a couple of these studies that we can also make available to you on our website or something like that, because there's some great information on it.
Absolutely. So in doing this, we went to one of our customers. Her name is Miss Micah Jones. She is a medical esthetician at Rejuve Aesthetics in Ohio, and basically asked her to just put her input in this. She classifies herself as a Fitz 5, not just because of her skin tone, but because of her skin sensitivities as well. And so her backstory is actually pretty interesting. So I want to take a minute to just explain like how she got into skin and what kind of sparked that for her.
Yeah, so we're going to tell your story, Micah.
Yeah, and hey, she's here.
I hope you're okay with that.
Basically, she originally worked for the Limited brands, which, sidebar, I'm still really sad about the Limited closing.
Yeah,
like, that
well,
hurts. But anyway, she worked for the Limited brands and worked her way up through to a position at home office. So she worked from like associate all the way up, which is awesome. And she and her husband got married, and then they had a baby girl, and her baby girl actually had a really severe case of eczema. And so in trying to manage that skin condition, the doctors prescribed creams and medication and everything, and it was actually, the creams were bleaching her skin. This one steroid cream in particular was bleaching her baby's skin. At 2 months old, I could not imagine being the mama and just being like, what is going on with my baby?
Yeah,
so
that's not good.
She took matters into her own hands and basically said, this is obviously not working. So she did a bunch of home remedies and ended up helping her daughter's skin and managing that condition for her. So that basically, like I said, sparked, it's the flame that sparked her whole I want to say mission to finding out the treatment options, the skincare options for black and brown skin. So basically, after she helped her clear her baby's skin, she quit her retail job, went to esthetician school full time, and she's now got over 6 years experience under her belt.
All in.
And always is continually looking for, and attending trainings and researching as much as she can to be proficient and master black and brown skin and those treatments. So
awesome.
I wanted to a direct quote from her whenever we were talking about this was, she was eager to try peels on herself, but had become so cautious after having treatments where the esthetician had not been as informed about treating the skin of brown and black people. These treatments left her with chemical burns and dark spots caused by a higher percentage of glycolic acid.
Wow.
So I want to know, I think the first thing we need to tackle here is, why do darker and lighter skin tones react differently to the same treatments?
I think it's such a good question, and honestly, I think it's perplexing to most people within the industry, because you don't know. I think we're all probably very familiar with our own skin tone and how it reacts. However, when we do a treatment or something on somebody with a different skin tone and it doesn't react the way that ours does, you can go, what's going on? What do I do now?
Right.
And so in our research, we found there's actually an article that was published in Skin Inc. magazine, and the article's entitled Understanding Darker Skin Tones. And they do an absolutely great job of really highlighting why darker skin tones are going to react differently than someone with a lighter skin tone. So in the article, a lot of the answers are quoted by Dr. Mona Gara, and she is with the Yale University School of Medicine under the dermatology department. So very credible person. Also darker skin tone too as well. So she's probably tried a lot of these different things. But one of the key things about darker skin tones is that, and this is kind of obvious, but the tone of your skin is determined by how much melanin is within your skin.
Right.
And so the melanin that's within our skin is produced by melanocytes. However, everyone has the same number of melanocytes.
Really?
Yes, just people with darker skin tones, they produce more melanin.
That's interesting.
So melanin is a cool thing, though. It actually has some benefits that I wasn't totally aware of until I started looking at some of these studies. And it does two very, very critical things. One is it's a natural antioxidant, and so it really provides some good vitamins and fights against free radicals within your skin. Second thing it does is it is a natural SPF. It actually functions as a sunscreen within your skin. Now, if you're fair-skinned or lighter-skinned, then you're probably going to have about a 3.4 natural SPF with your melanin in your skin, which is why lighter-skinned people burn more easily. For like a medium brown skin tone, somewhere in there, it's actually going to jump up to about a 13.4 natural SPF within it. So it's one of the great benefits now. Also because it's an antioxidant and it's so powerful, it's a great anti-aging element within your skin too. So typically people with darker skin tones, I'm a little jealous. Your skin, you're not going to show the signs of aging like most people do. Your darker skin tones are going to stay firmer, softer, longer than other people with lighter skin tones. So that is a great benefit of melanin.
The thing, and we do need to pause for a minute and also talk about, are the risk factors for darker skin. There's some really big ones that you need to watch out for. The first one, and I think the most common, honestly, is post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, or PIH. It occurs more frequently in people with darker skin, and it occurs after trauma or inflammation of the skin from like a chemical peel with too high a percentage.
Correct.
So basically, the example that was used in the study was whenever a darker skinned person gets a pimple, for some reason the melanocyte is activated and it produces more melanin. So as a result, when the lesion fades, the skin gets darker, which is amazing to me. It's just amazing. So this actually also happens from bruising, cuts, and rashes, which I didn't know about until now.
I mean, as if acne wasn't hard enough on its own.
Right.
And then now your melanocytes are going to go crazy
Yeah.
and produce a dark spot, then you have to deal with two things.
Absolutely.
After that.
Another thing that risk factors for darker skin tones is melasma. It can also occur in darker skin tones. The cause is not really known, but it's thought to be, hormonal fluctuations like pregnancy, birth control pills, medications. Together, those with sun exposure may trigger the melasma in darker skin tones. And then something I thought was really interesting is skin cancer is less likely for darker skin tones. However, because it's less likely, they don't go to the doctor to get checked out, or they don't really notice a difference in their skin. And so they are more likely to die from skin cancer.
Yeah, that's so horrible. And I think it can be confusing with a darker skin tone too when you see something on your skin that you may think, oh, that's nothing.
It's nothing.
And so I would just say if you see something different, whether it's on you or on your client, then don't take any chances. Just go get it checked out.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think all of my sun damage is coming to the surface now, and so I go every 6 months now and just get totally checked out and worked up. So far so good, but I don't want to take any chances.
Absolutely.
But if you have darker skin tone, please don't ignore anything like that. The good news also is that there are some treatment options that are really, really good for darker skin tones. Yep. You don't have to not do anything. There are plenty of things that you can do, and we'll talk about some. There are some ingredients probably that are going to be good to avoid because of a lot of the reasons that we talked about in the risk factors. So you want to avoid ingredients that are abrasive or irritating, since darker skin tones are a little bit more susceptible to hyperpigmentation, and that when you irritate the skin and you make a scratch or a cut or a bruise, then it can actually increase the melanin production, which can produce a darker spot. So you definitely want to stay away from that. Another interesting thing that we found is that there is a delicate balance in the amount of oil that is within darker skin tones.
Yes, this is very important.
It's very, very important, especially when you're treating acne, because you do not want to over dry the skin. If you deplete all of the oil reserves, it actually, in a darker skin tone, is going to really harm that protective barrier within the skin.
Yep.
And then it almost looks, it can turn gray, flaky, and look kind of really odd, and you don't really know what's going on. And it's because you've taken all that oil out. Right. I think we talked about a lot of that with Jacqueline Parasetsky at Skin Perfect. She's one of our great customers and friends, and really has had a lot of experience with that. And so that was, not only was in that study, but it was also something that we've learned from her. And so it's really critical that you watch that oil balance. And there are products out there that you can use that are non-comedogenic, that are more oil-based, like our argan oil and our squalene, both which are 100% pure. Argan oil is cold pressed.
And twice certified organic.
Twice certified organic, and it's good, so there's nothing else in it. And so if you can find things like that to use, it can really help balance that out with a darker skin tone.
Right, and like you said, it's tricky whenever it comes with acne, because most acne treatments want to dry the skin out as much as possible. So things like salicylic that are going to be really drying are very abrasive for darker skin tones because of that moisture barrier there and the trauma to it.
And we're always going to promote skin health. We're really looking for, how do we keep the skin healthy? And so you want to maintain those natural levels of things, but it's something to be very conscious of in darker skin tones.
Absolutely. So balance out acne treatments and keep ingredients that are non-comedogenic, like the squalene or the argan oil, in the same treatments with acne, so you keep that moisture barrier like we were talking about. So you definitely, another thing you want to avoid is cleansing with a loofah or poof. Okay, so I have a soapbox with this one because this grosses me out so bad.
Pun intended?
It's
soapbox for a loofah?
Yes, it is. You saw what I did there.
That's good.
Loofahs and poofs, or whatever they're called, they are like a petri dish for bacteria. So it doesn't matter what your skin tone is, just throw that thing away. That is the most disgusting thing. I read a study recently that basically summarized that idea that it's basically just harboring all this bacteria, and it grossed me out so bad, you guys. I was like doing the Jimmy Fallon thing. I just couldn't anymore.
Okay, how am I gonna wash my back?
Oh, you're gonna have to figure that out. We'll talk about that later, maybe. But that's just Go throw that thing away, please. Another thing is you want to use antioxidant-rich moisturizers and serums, and always use SPF. It's super important that you use SPF on a daily basis. I know we talked about vitamin C and E and licorice root, and retinoids can be helpful for overall healthy skin, which is our ultimate goal here.
Right, yeah. So anything that can either replicate the natural kinds of things in your skin, like retinoids or collagen or things like that, or increase the production of them. And so that's what you're kind of looking for when you look at ingredients. On the treatment side, there are some things that, lots of things are still available. You can do laser treatments, microdermabrasion, Botox, and fillers. They can be used with darker skin tones, but you really have to be careful because the skin is so susceptible to hyperpigmentation. And these things that we're talking about here, the goal is to traumatize the skin. I mean, that's what you're doing because you want it to slough off. But so you just have to be very careful. So with the microderm, I would definitely go lighter. Lasers, do some test spots before you do the entire area, probably that you would want to do. And the deeper or more abrasive that the treatment is, then the more likely it is to produce PIH.
Yeah, the risk is definitely higher.
Yeah.
So I know one thing that the whole point of this is that we started talking about chemical peels with dark skin, and they are thought to be off limits when it comes to darker skin tones, but recent studies have shown that that is absolutely not true anymore. So Science Daily covered a new study in a published article online. It's actually available in the Journal of American Academy of Dermatology. It says chemical peels are safe for people with darker skin and result in few side effects and complications. So that study showed that when performed appropriately, chemical peels can be a safe treatment option for people with darker skin. And it said that less than 4% of people with darker skin experienced unwanted side effects from the chemical peels they did, which is pretty great.
This is a really legitimate study. That's what I loved about it when I was reading it. Because of just the way that they put the study together and how it was formed. And this was in the Journal of American Academy of Dermatology. This has been recently. This was last year in 2018. So this is a relatively new study. So the researchers even observed a lower rate of side effects compared to studies that had all skin types within them, or all skin tones. And so that's also a bonus. And what they did was, so I think they followed 132 patients with a total of 473 chemical peels administered during this study. And so they have a lot of data. And the goal was just to see how prevalent these side effects were. The most common side effects that they noticed were crusting or dark spots and reddening. Where in the average they lasted probably 4.5-ish weeks was the typical thing. The study found that the side effects were much less likely in the winter, which makes sense because there's less sun exposure. You're not going to induce anything when you do that.
Your body heats lower all the time.
Body heats lower, all those good things. And then the other thing is that people with the darkest skin tones were the most likely to actually experience some sort of side effects. So that's critical to those of us in the professional industry, that when you notice that someone has a darker Fitzpatrick or a higher or darker skin tone, then you're going to have to really proceed with more caution.
Absolutely.
So lower ingredients, lower percentages, and things like that. And I will say this, that sometimes, like Micah was saying, that you can present as a 3 or 4, but your skin may react like a 5 or 6.
Yes.
And so we'll talk about some safety precautions that you can do there too, but you need to be aware of that. Just because someone looks like a 3 doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to react that way.
Right, they could be a lot more sensitive than what you visually see. So, let's move into more like effective chemical peels for darker skin tones. And I want to start off by quoting Micah again, because I thought this was really interesting. She is like in love with one peel that we have, particularly the Light Just Nurse Bright. And she said, I first discovered Skin Therapeutic and their Light Jesner's Bright about 2.5 years ago while managing a clinical spa. I was looking for a peel that would take my clients' treatments to the next level and give hyperpigmentation a kick in the butt. So when she placed right in the butt. So when she placed an order, she basically crossed her fingers and said, I hope that, this is going to work, and
Wow.
let's just see what this is all about. And after she tested it, she was like, a combination of amazing acids at a lower percentage. She was she was so excited about this one. She said, I first tested the peel by simply applying it to one freckle. A few days later, the spot appeared flaky and lifting around the edges, and when I flicked it with my fingertip, it fell off. And I could not find any pigment left behind in the skin. She was completely amazed,
That's so awesome.
That is so awesome, you guys. This is the reason why we're in this industry is to help manage skin conditions, and hyperpigmentation is one of those that is so common, not with every skin tone, and that's why we have the options of peels that we do, so that everyone can have can manage skin conditions like hyperpigmentation and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, so what a great story. I mean, I absolutely love that. I really appreciate Micah. Thank you for sharing all this stuff with us. There are many different kinds of chemical peels too that can be effective.
Yeah.
So you're not really limited to just one kind of chemical peel.
Absolutely.
The key is that you got to use the lower percentages.
Yes.
That's really what you need to keep in mind. And so a lot of times the damage that will show up is someone that uses a higher percentage on someone with a darker skin tone.
Yes.
And so it goes back to what we're saying. We're used to what our skin tone reacts to. And I know with me, I can use the highest thing that we have, and sometimes I don't even feel it.
Yeah.
But not so with other skin tones. And so with darker skin tones, always start low. But you can even use, lactic, glycolic, and salicylic. Those are all peels that can be used in these lower percentages. And as you guys know, lactic is really going to help retain moisture. So if you're trying to maintain that oil balance and moisture balance, that's a good one. Glycolic is always going to help slough things off. And it is the best at really, especially with the first time chemical peel where there's a lot of dead skin, of melting away that glue that holds the dead skin cells together and helping it slough off. And so that's a great thing about glycolic. And then you get into the salicylic, which a lot of times is used for acne because it is an oil loving thing. It will go into those pores and dry up that oil. It also has antibacterial effects too, which helps. Bacteria is what's going to cause acne a lot of times anyway. It's derived from aspirin. So it does have anti-inflammatory properties as well. You just can't use the high percentages with darker skin tones. So our lowest is 10. You may never need to go any higher than that on a darker skin tone.
No, because that gets into what we were talking about earlier about keeping that oil balance in check and making sure that their moisture barrier does not get traumatized like that. So really, you can do a salicylic, but make sure that you're following that chemical peel treatment up with very hydrating, moisturizing, moisturizer, hydrator products. So one of my favorites for darker skin tones, and the one that's most widely recommended, is the Mandelic. I stinking love Mandelic, you guys. Unless they have a nut allergy, there's really no reason why you can't use this one on darker skin tones. And then also the Light Jesner's Bright, which is Micah's favorite. The Modified Jesner and Jesner's were all recommended for treating hyperpigmentation, wrinkles, and increasing cellular turnover. And something that I thought was interesting, another quote from Micah, she said, the Light Jesner's Bright was and is the real deal. I'd estimate that 12 to 15% improvement of hyperpigmentation from the first peel. I mean, that's amazing results, you guys. It's really good.
It's incredible. There are some keys to achieving really good results without complications when you're using a chemical peel on darker skin tones. So let's talk about some of those. Definitely, always, it's like, I feel like we say this all the time, but you have to start with initial consultation.
Absolutely.
You have to talk with someone face to face and look at their skin tone and ask them really good questions. I think with darker skin tones, it's even more important to ask, well, what kind of skin sensitivities have you noticed?
Absolutely.
What kinds of things have you used that maybe caused reddening or irritation in the skin or different things like that? So you can kind of start to gauge, okay, where does their skin lie? What's going to happen when I apply something? And so you want to know as much on the front end as you possibly can. And always do a test spot. I think with darker skin tones, I would do this at the initial consultation at least 2 to 3 days prior to doing the actual chemical peel, that you're going to put whatever you plan on using on their face and just see how it reacts to do that. A good thing too that a lot of these studies and different articles that I read about this is that you can actually prepare the skin for darker skin tones to get the chemical peel by using lower percentage at-home acids a week or two prior to getting the chemical peel. So what this does is when you use these lower percentages at home that are safe and you don't have to neutralize them, I think we have our cellular turnovers, which is what they are. They're home strength acids that you can use in order to prep the skin. But it gets the skin used to having the acid on it before you do the chemical peel at a lower percentage. So here's what that means is that it's going to prohibit trauma. So if you start with this lower percentage and kind of build up a couple of weeks prior to even doing a 30% lactic or a glycolic or something like that, then if you do that right out of the gate with somebody with a darker skin tone, then you could cause skin trauma. And that's what you want to avoid.
Absolutely.
So with the darker tones, if you traumatize the skin, it's going to produce more melanin, which can produce hyperpigmentation. So that's what we want to try to avoid, is getting the skin well prepped and then ready to do that. So those are a couple of good things. What else should we make sure that we do there, Kristen? You don't want to do it? You want to?
No, I'd love to do it.
Sorry, you already turned the page. Sorry, I'll keep talking.
No,
I just went off script.
I got it. It's totally fine.
You got it?
I got this.
Okay, go for it,
I'll just take it from here. Thanks. Another key thing when it comes to dark skin tones is to make sure that chemical peels are only being applied by professionals. That's really a good thing.
That's where you come in.
Right.
We're preaching to the choir, I know that.
So making sure that peels are only being applied by a professional so that they can see how the skin is reacting. They've been educated in what to look for if things are starting to go in a more reactive, if the client is reacting to the peel in a negative way. So definitely want to say that whenever we write protocols for chemical peels, we always give a minute range. So the peel should only be left on for 5 to 10 minutes. You want to err on the side of caution and go with the very lowest, go lower, or even lower than what's recommended as the minimum amount of time for a peel. So if it says 5 minutes, leave it on for 2, at least for the first couple times until you know how their skin's going to react to certain acids. So one thing that we've recently started talking about was scheduling a hydration facial about 7 days post peel. I think this is really important for all skin types, but especially critical for darker skin tones, because you'll be able to evaluate the skin and then exfoliate the skin in that treatment, and then replenish the skin with vitamins and moisture so that it can really revitalize the skin and get slough off those dead cells that have been peeling over the last 7 days. So with darker skin tones, though, there is a prolonged healing time between peels. So you probably need to go about a month between peels, I'd say, depending on which peel you use. Especially starting out, yeah. And then one thing with chemical peels that we need to say is that one peel is not going to be a fix-all. So peels need to be done in about a series of 6 to 8 to really get skin conditions under control and manage those. So what does post-care look like for darker skin tones?
Well, post-care is pretty similar, but I think it's going to lean more on the moisturization side than probably a lighter skin tone. So always use gentle cleanser and a light moisturizer, probably for the first week. I think for lighter skin tones, we can say 3 days. But I would go and 5 to 7 for darker skin tone, and use sunscreen. You have to use sunscreen. Even darker skin tones should be using sunscreen anyway, especially if you live in a warmer climate or exposed to a lot of sun.
Or just anywhere in general for healthy skin.
If you're just on Earth, maybe on the moon, not so important, but on Earth here, it is more important. So that should just become a part of your daily regimen. And apply oil and vitamin-rich moisturizers daily. You can start doing this after about the first week. And like we've said earlier, the non-comedogenic oils, squalene, argan oil are going to be really good for darker skin tones. After about the first week, you can start working in other cleansers and other products. But here's where I think the 7-day hydration facial comes in so importantly, because you want to see what's happening with that person's skin at the beginning, and a 7-day time frame is really the best time to look to see how their skin really reacted to the chemical peel. So then you as the professional can go, okay, your skin's doing this or this. Let's try this product this week. Let's use this for so long, because it really needs a professional there in the treatment room who can look at it and go, hey, this is what's going on. You know what I mean? So I think that's just critical, that you start doing that, and then that way you can control the rest of the results, or at least help.
Absolutely. And so I just want to wrap up this live with a quote from Micah that I thought was really amazing. She said, "I feel fortunate that I am a Black woman. Living in this skin empowers me with the tools to wake up every day and put science to work. Black and brown women and men everywhere need to know that they can get in-office treatments and use topical clinical products that are effective for their skin type," which is just amazing.
Yeah, it is, and we appreciate you so much, Micah,
Absolutely.
for sharing all these things with us, and just your journey, your story. Great story, anyway.
Yeah, it's great.
I love a good story, but yeah, we really appreciate it. And probably when we did this, we started doing all this research, and then talking to Micah as we were getting everything together, we realized that actually a lot of the peels that we had on sale for the first 2 weeks of the month were really good peels for darker skin tones.
Yeah.
So because of that, we have decided today that, hey, you know what, let's extend the sale. We're gonna extend the 15% off sale on all of the Jesner's lines, because so many of them are good for darker skin tones.
Light Jesner, bright Jesners, modified Jesners. Those were the three that kept coming up, and so why not?
Yeah, why not? So Merry Christmas early.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Or really
Happy
late,
birthday,
depending on how you look at it.
However you want to look at it. But it's just a great idea. So if you missed out on the sale, hey, we're still going to have it till the end of the month.
Absolutely.
And then we'll do that. We're also having an awesome giveaway.
Yes,
this month. We had one last month that was pretty cool on back bar products. This month we're giving away a ton of supplies.
Absolutely. A ton of supplies.
Like
oh my gosh.
Sponges and cotton rayon swabs, cotton pads, cups,
suction bulbs. There's a whole cold face mask, which is awesome for, especially after like post-chemical peel.
If you like to do treatments post-chemical, or if you just like to wrestle, you can put on this mask, and
it really does look like a wrestling.
It kind of looks like a wrestling mask. Yeah, a little bit, but it's cold when you put it in your face, so it feels great.
It does feel really good.
I'm not telling you what to do, but that is an option to do that. So if you spend $300 this month, then your name goes into the drawing for the supplies giveaway, and we'll draw the winner on our first Facebook Live next month. So I don't know what date that is. You may know.
I think it's like the 6th or something like that. It's like the first week in March.
It's sometime in March. We know that. And it'll be early.
It absolutely will be early.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for tuning into this live. We hope that it is very informative to you and helps you, with your clients, and educate you a little bit on darker skin tones. And then also a special thank you to Micah for being just a source of information for us and for helping us out with this live. So we'll see you guys in a few weeks. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Bye.